Next up, we have a panel which is hosted by one of our organizers, Saloni, and the amazing people that we'll see. I am not introducing any one of them because they said that they already have the introductions. So I'm cutting off the time over here. So I would like to invite Amanda, the Open UK, Saloni, and Atul and Ram. Please come on the stage and have these. You start from cross with me.
And before we start, quick round of introduction. I would like to tell you all this is not a boring panel. And this is going to be very interactive, and we will take your opinions as well for this keynote. So get ready to scan a QR code just after this. So let's make this keynote interactive and collective. So we are in a new AI era, and it's new for everyone. We are learning, we are exploring, and figuring out things. So generally, want to hear your perspective too. Our panelist today brings expertise across AI and governance, platform engineering, and all things Kubernetes. So we are going to have a really dynamic keynote over here. Let's get started. I am Saloni Nalam, organizer of KCD, Docker Captain, CNCF Ambassador, and also co-founder of Simplify. So let's start with Jananda.
Good morning. I'm Amanda Brock. I'm CEO of Open UK. I've been here this week because I've been at the Impact Summit. I think I was on the 6 panels across it. I'm an ex-lawyer. I spent 25 years as a lawyer before I became CEO of Open UK. I worked for Canonical and Ubuntu from 2008.
Thank you, Amanda. Ram?
Hey everyone, my name is Ram Mahinda. I do work as a community and developer evangelist on a few open source projects, which means I have more stickers and t-shirts than I really need. But I help build communities and bring together a lot of engineers together around open source projects, particularly focused on cloud platforms and open source security. Atul.
Thank you, Ram. Let's move on to Atul.
Hey everyone, I'm Atul and I work as a senior developer advocate at Improving. My work predominantly is into developer relations, so I work with companies and help them adopt open source technologies. I have also been the co-chair for KubeCon India and Akan in Hyderabad last year. I organized the Cloud Native Hyderabad community as CHCF ambassador and also the co-chair for the platform engineering community as CHCF. Thank you so much for having me here.
Okay, so let's start with few round of questions. So first question is for Amanda. So Amanda, your work at Open UK, open source policy making and governments has been unreal. And we would like to hear your perspective where you think AI stands today. What is the biggest challenge we are facing in open source?
I think the biggest challenge we have in open source today is open washing, misinformation, and what I'm going to call policy capture. So while you're all building things, I'm listening to CEOs and politicians and policymakers talking about open source, and they don't know what the words mean or how you make it happen. So across the Impact Summit this week, there were hundreds of conversations with hundreds of speakers and thousands of people in the audience, but lots of them couldn't have told you what open source actually is or what licenses are open source and which aren't. I saw an article 2 days ago in TechCrunch saying Savram has launched an open source small model. And if you go and look at the Savram license, it excludes commercial usage. And if you look at their LinkedIn post, it says they're going to make it open weights, not even open source, next week. So it hasn't happened yet. So I think we have to really push back in a nice way and try and encourage understanding. And we're seeing words like public good, civic tech being used around the outputs because they don't want to get into the open source debate, and they're sort of putting a cloak or a cover on the open source. And that's really, really bad in the long term. So there's lots of misinformation, lots of confusion. And as a community, we have a responsibility to know what we're talking about and how you do it, and to share that as much as we can.
Wow, Nanda, that's a different perspective. I never thought in that way. But that was great. Now, coming to Atul, you have been part of Slum Rating platform community for a long time now, and you are co-organizer of the group as well. You know IDP in detail. Where do you think from an enterprise perspective the AI is taking these IDPs to? Have they started extending current IDPs to cater AI workloads? Or the effort required is too much that people are building AI platforms that way?
Sure, thanks. So I forgot to mention in my intro that I'm a food lover as well, outside of work, so I'll obviously talk food. Anyone here who doesn't know Sitaram Divanchan in Delhi? Days or honey. Who doesn't know Sitaram Divanchan? Okay. Quite a few people. Okay, so for Amanda, if everyone doesn't know, Sitaram Divanchan is one of the most popular chole bhature places in Delhi. I swear by them, I just love that chole bhature. Now, just imagine if Sitaram Divanchan gets up one day and says, I want to have momos added to my menu as well. Why? Because the entire India is doing gaga with momos, right? So now Sitaram Divanchan has two options when he wants to put a momo stall. The first one is, with his existing chole bhature setup, he adds one small machine with momos, and there's his existing chefs. Now you start making momos. So what the problem with this is, his existing chefs who have been mastered the art of making chole bhature now have to learn how to make momos, which means their quality of chole bhature will come down and they won't be great at momos as well. So that's a trade-off. The second one is they could set up a completely new store dedicated to momos. So new kitchen, new chefs, in technical terms, separation of concerns because it's completely separate now. But the problem here is there's an operational overhead. So now we have to take care of two different shops. The customers are confused because they don't know where to go for chole bhature and where to go for momos, right? And apparently that's exactly what's happening when it comes to AI interactions. What is happening is when you talk about AI, everyone's talking about AI, bringing that into platforms. And since I have been part of the platform community and I have been part of a lot of discussions that are happening on how to integrate platforms. So a quick touch up on, there are two ways that I have seen these things happening. The first one is running your AI on your platform. So, while you were building the platform maturity model, so that's a model that the group had developed. And our focus was mainly to help companies and enterprise understand where they are in their platform journey. So, whether they have a platform or know how do they start their journey, and then move on to an enterprise mature level where they actually have a full-fledged IDP. Now, the place where I was particularly involved and interested in was the interface. So as developers, when we interface or interact with a particular platform, there are different ways. It could be a very simple set of YAML files. It could be a CLI. It could be an API endpoint. It could be a GUI. It could be a dashboard. So there are different ways that a developer interacts with a particular platform. Now, when AI came into the picture, it added a completely new dimension to platforms. Now, everything is more conversational. Your developers are no more going to use CLIs, right? Not no more, but then they're going to reduce using CLI or APIs. It's all going to be more conversational. So you go to the developer logs around with the platform and you'll say like, hey, I want to deploy a microservice and go on so-and-so cluster sort of, right? And platform will understand that context. It has access to all the blue bricks which is present, the golden paths which are present, and then it will go ahead and execute whatever is required by them. So that conversational part will come in. And that's one part how enterprises are using it. And I'm sure quite a few over here who have seen in your offices or at your workplace that you see these chatbots being integrated to your platforms. It could be as simple as talking to a particular doc and understanding what's happening, whether it's troubleshooting. So a lot of chatbot sort of things is coming as an add-on there. That's one part of it. Second is using your platform to deploy AI workloads. That's a different agenda. It's similar to having a completely different Momos call because a Chole Bhature call cannot run some Momos, right? So in this case, what's happening is the organization that are very mature, who have a very full-fledged level of platform in place, what they have realized is that the existing model with which a platform was built cannot really run the AI models or AI workloads that is needed. So initially we spoke about microservices, we spoke about containers. But what's happening now is with AI, the entire landscape has changed. You talk about model registries, you talk about experiments, you talk about feature flow, you talk about MLOps. The existing platforms were not meant to handle this. So very mature organizations are actually extending their existing platforms and adding these capabilities. While the newer ones who don't have a platform at all, these guys are like, we want to ship quickly. because AI is like speed bala game. If you're not there, you're going to lose. So for them, the stakeholders are like, hey, let's just skip this quickly outside. So they are the ones who are skipping the existing fundamentals of platforms and directly catching on with the AI game and then ensuring that their platform, is able to handle AI. So yeah, I then goes to using AI within platforms and then using AI for platform organizers, AI organizers.
Thank you, Atul. I'm sure you all must be hungry after listening to our answer like momos and chole bhature. So we'll be having tea break right after this, Thanos. Don't worry for that. Anyways, thank you, Atul, for the perspective of the platform today. Now I'm having a question for Rahi. Coming to Ram, who is always active in learning and sharing new stuff, whether it's learning about AI. So Ram, you have been in this ecosystem before DevOps, then Kubernetes, and the rise of AI. What do you think about these evolution points? And given your experience, what do you think is the current state and road ahead with DevOps? Is it AI ops? Or these terms are just like a which needs to be worked on?
You make me sound much older and actually speaking than. But yeah, I was just being fortunate to work in a lot of these areas for what feels like a very long time. I often joke that in 5 years of using an open source tool is like 50 dog years, something like that. So it's a very different time. And in that, we are at an inflection point that is moving much faster than any of these other revolutions of our time. Yes, we saw a lot of DevOps. We saw a lot of agile stuff like in the lab, but then the way and the pace at which AI is moving, and just to tag on to a little bit of what Amanda mentioned about stuff not being what they actually are, open washing as an example. What Atul was saying about AI being applied for operations and also operating the AI infrastructure. All of it is moving so fast, it's extremely hard to keep track of things. And so I think the future has an enormous dose of AI in it. It depends on what area you're trying to apply it to. And unless you learn to apply it with a lot of discretion and make sure that things don't get out of hand, you're not going to succeed. You're going to see a lot more failures. So definitely embrace AI. Like when I started, I was a bit of an AI skeptic, but like responsible AI is a thing. AI with guardrails is a thing. I think we need to be a much more mature audience when embracing AI as opposed to, going through the move fast and break things, because the break things is extremely expensive in this case.
You made me laugh when you said she made you sound old. I can remember when Solomon created Docker and people said containers would never take off.
I think that's just a pattern that I think for.
So Ram is always hilarious. That makes discussions even better. So now attendees, this is your time. We'll be sharing a QR code. And for the panelists, we have flags over here. So we have green flag, that is for yes, and red flag, that is for no. So in the application, then we set of questions, and if the application don't work, then you can catch hold of Sayyam and Rohit because they created this app. And you need to, after you are finished, you need to show answers like this onto your mobiles, whether you have selected red or green. And then we'll see which panelist has won.
I thought catching hold of Sayan was your job.
So we'll just wait for a few seconds.
Vijay.
So let me start with the first question. Are you all ready? Is Kubernetes the platform called AI? No, Kubernetes. Platform called AI. Okay. So I can see 1 green, 2 green, all green. Okay, let's move on to the second question. Should AI governance can be driven by open communities rather than governments?
Local community.
Okay, I can see one red. Okay, that's great. Let's move on to third question. Is the energy enough for the common needs for AI?
Tertaling AI. They think behind.
So probably Uganda is against AI because of you're answering all questions in a different note, right?
So the app has a bottleneck.
Let's move on to the fourth question. Will AI replace software engineer?
It will replace the lazy ones. It won't replace anybody here. Very nice. These are
It won't replace the good engineers, sir.
So we can also see the percentage of red and green over the screens. So last question is, will open source win in the AI era?
we need the yellow flag for this. It depends on what you mean by open source, right? I mean, it's
We're going to say the same thing. Yes, if we manage to educate the people making the decisions, the problem is they make rules. And if you look for an example at the EU, they have the AI Act. When you print it, it's this long on A4. Are you all going to read that and follow it? No. If they go a different route and they start to use tools, and some of the smarter organizations are offering those tools, if they give the engineers the tools that they need to do what governments want us to do to keep people safe, then we'll use it, right? So OECD and ROOST, ROOST, are already offering open source tools. So that will be a start point. And then they have to engage with all of us to understand how to do open source. This week, the US ambassador, the Prime Minister of India, the President of France, the UK AI Minister all said they support open source. And we have to make sure they know what open source is. And they have to talk to all of us about how to do it. There's a report I saw at the summit, and it's suggesting India only licenses, certifications. They'll never work with open source. We need them to understand how you build it and do it well. And they need to understand that we want to help them.
Right. Thank you, Amanda, for throwing light on that. So this is the last round. We'll move on to rapid fire. So first, we'll go with Amanda. Amanda need to have shaped open source law, advise governments, and watch the internet war for 25 years now. So let's do something dangerous. I'm going to phrase, and you need to respond only with one word. No exclamation, no legal disclaimers, just one word. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
That's all. Flows AI models.
No.
AI is already written.
No.
Will open source win?
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay. Biggest AI risk?
Sam Altman. There are more of you in this room than there were at his talk.
AI in 2030. Last verse.
Open.
No middle ground. Platform as product or platform as service?
product always. Product always.
Central plans.
Word.
Why did you choose it?
Central platform or federated platform?
I think
Golden paths or freedom to choose?
Goldie Pies.
Standardization or best of breed tools?
Standardization.
Executive sponsorship first or grassroots adoption?
Grassroots.
So that was great. Would you like to tell us more on this? Atul, why you chose grassroots adoption?
So one of the major problems in platform engineering is adoption. Enterprises build the product, the platform, and they expect developers to use it, but they don't. So why grassroots is important is you get 2 or 3 developers to use it, involve them. That's what I've been in the platform as product. Involve them while we're building a platform. so that they know what is being built, they know it is useful for them, and then they become your champions, they become your ambassadors. And they go and say, ki, hey, the new portal has come up and it has this fancy feature, it's helping me get work done, you should also come. So I think that's where my ideology of having grassroots first, then getting executive in that.
And it's not just enterprises, it's governments too. They need to learn the grassroots piece.
So Ram, you work at the intersection of developers, community, and cloud native. So this one is very simple for you. No context, no slides. Ready?
I guess.
CNCF in one word.
Okay. It's complicated.
Future of something.
Complicated. AI villain.
Kubernetes in one word.
Invisible.
Open source in one.
Life brand.
Community in one word.
The feed.
That was nice, man. And would you like to tell more about future of cloud native?
So a lot of the responses from the world to what cloud native has become is everybody has an opinion, and therefore there's a cloud native project to satisfy that opinion. And if you look at the cloud native landscape right now, I don't think anybody is keeping track of all of the new projects getting submitted, etc. So the past, we've been celebrating like 10 years of Kubernetes, still a decade of cloud native, all of that. I welcome all of that innovation, but the problem has been, why are there 5 ways of doing ingress where one should be sufficient, one optimal way should be sufficient versus maybe 2 for like special cases and stuff. But it's got like 5 ways of ingress, 15 ways of CI/CD, I don't know, 10 ways on building a container or whatever. And so all of this is good, but it gives rise to a lot of confusion, and somebody is trying to start off or decide on a path to adoption. So when you ask Atul about grassroots driven or the opposite, now the problem with open stuff from grassroots driven things is developers are extremely opinionated, and that can sometimes be a day. So the CNCF has to outgrow that, and we're looking at a lot of like AI generated problems in some sense. So there's too many PRs for people to handle. This is a very common open source problem, but like even for the cloud native community in general, there's so many projects that are mapping existing work to AI. There's nothing new. They just want to slap a label. Everybody wants an open source project of their own, things like that. And is the CNCF community losing sight of its core cloud abstraction, cloud platforms promise for entering an AI future? And so are they sort of abandoning some of their roots for going more AI stuff and including more of this, where cloud platforms that are boring and that needs to become invisible actually need to be sought? So it's a very interesting time, and we're at a great inflection point as a community. More people should participate. If you're consuming cloud native stuff, I really urge you to come forward and start speaking about it. You're at an event about cloud native on a Saturday morning, and that makes you very different from like 99.9% of the population that's using this tech. Okay, so I urge the community here to participate more, and I hope more voices can be heard about how to make the community better.
I wanted to just say thank you to everybody for the hospitality I've had over the last week in India and in my past trips here. I've also been very fortunate, and I've been allowed to go to China, and I met a lot of engineers in Istanbul in China. And the sort of key takeaway about how they build AI and cloud is that they are very concerned about their compute capacity. So everything they build is really clean, as slick as possible, very little in the code if they can do it that way. But they also have the same challenge of this diversification, too many products doing the same thing. And the Chinese government has had an open source strategy for 8 years that's been very public. Their new one came out in October, And the way they're taking it forward is they're trying to reduce competing products that are open source and AI because they have the same challenge. And they're trying to tie it more closely to economic modeling. And I think that's a thing that's worth thinking about because it applies to all open source. They're just leading us right now in the AI space. So I think it's worth learning from them. And I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you, Amanda, for sharing your scenes here. And I would like to hand Atul, who came all the way from Hyderabad, Nanda from UK, and Ram from Ayodhya.